like if you watch other people's video essays or any kind of digital content really, do you find it like almost as a fun creative exercise to kind of rework it in your head similar to what you do with narratives, or do you think it's just a kind of different feeling when watching other people on YouTube specifically?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that I mean at this point, like I know people,
Right.
and I've always known people, right? Like, and it's been at different levels, but there's you get to when you start making essays, you get to know people in the community, of all different channel sizes and focuses.
Right.
You can have conversations with them in different ways, and like it feels, and it's usually how channels work is it's like maybe there's a team behind it,
Sure.
but it's usually a person at the forefront.
Right.
So I always do. I don't know. Where with a movie, it's easy to be like, okay, well, there's there's always like a studio you can play.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's always a company or a set of finance that you can totally point towards. While with creators, it feels almost too mutual, do you think?
Yeah. And maybe there's some hypocrisy there that I should examine at some point. But I don't know. I think I certainly can watch a video and feel no issue responding with like, yeah, I agree with this take of yours because of this, or I disagree with your take because of this. But I don't find myself being super critical of
like the formalities of like how it's set up.
Yeah.
And stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
I
sorry, go for
personally,
it.
I try not to give criticism on a channel, in terms of like how they're making stuff.
Right.
Unless they ask for it.
Right.
Like if they ask like, how could I do this differently? Then I'll offer things. But I don't know. I think if you just like, if I were just to leave comments being like, hey, yeah, I mean, I'm not an asshole, so I wouldn't do it in a mean way. But even if I did it in a nice way of just leaving a comment being like, hey, appreciate what you're doing here. Keep up the good work. Here are some things I would work on going forward. The person who made that didn't ask for it.
Right. Right.
And that's why I started doing the feedback streams, is because like it's people who specifically want feedback.
Right.
They're asking for me to look and give my perspective on it.
And like 9 times out of 10, feedback that comes from results of that, of people literally asking for it, are going to be like usually not only perceived better, but also listened to a lot more, right? Than just random comments on your video. If you get random comment on your video, sometimes you think, what does this guy know? He might know everything.
Exactly.
But the way you receive it's going to be different.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, you're going to receive it in a way where you want to hear it. And maybe you'll hear some things you don't want to hear, and that's okay.
Right.
That's how it goes.
That is.
But at the same time, it's just like, yeah, you're definitely right. You'll be in the headspace where you'll be more receptive to it. Whereas like if I put out a video and I'm feeling great about it, and then someone leaves a 5,000 word comment being like, structurally, your essay is flawed because, it's like, what value does this bring to me?
Right.
And there could be valuable things in there,
right.
But also YouTube being the way it is, you could get a 5,000 word essay saying why your essay was the greatest thing ever, or another one saying why it was utterly trash.
And you're going to remember,
so you have to like
the bottom one. You're going to remember those.
Sure, you're going to remember the bottom one for sure. But you can still get these very wide responses from different people, and it's like, yeah, is who should I listen to? Whose opinion matters more? And I think your point of what you just said of you'll remember the negative one, that is what people normally do.
Right.
You can get 100 positive comments, and if someone, says you're an idiot, that is the one you'll remember.
Right, for sure.
The 100 are gone, and this person sees a truth about you that only you thought you could see, but they see it too, which means your armor is cracked, and you're a fraud. And they know. And I think what's hard is it's really easy to hyperfixate on highly negative, highly critical comments, and then I think a thing that a lot of smaller creators fall into, and bigger creators do too, is following the advice of people who don't like them or what they
Yes,
make.
yeah. Or even just people who disagree with opinions. You know, so many formal critiques, even if they're correct critiques, will come from people just being upset by a specific opinion the creator had and not actually upset by the low quality formalities, right? But that's what sparks the comment a lot of times. And then, yeah, like you said, just a lot of people listen to that and they try to capitalize on those specific points when all the pats on the back, those are, suddenly they're nothing. That you don't even think of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's not to say that critical comments never have truths in them and that they can
Sure.
never help you. But I think there is certainly an overcorrection where, well, this one person didn't like what I did. These 100 people did, but they're sheep. They don't know.
Right.
Which yeah, I think creators are very bad at like sifting through feedback sometimes.
Oh, we didn't have any, YouTube classes. It's not like, a lot of people
No.
don't even have like any kind of art background when they go into YouTube, right? Especially nowadays, because YouTube wasn't around when I was born. Nowadays, people are born where YouTube is around, and they're going to continue to have opportunities to create without having, because in other art forms, and I'm sure as an English major, you had to take at least at some point have a portion of a class, or even if not a whole class, dedicated to just taking critique, right? And being able to funnel in what's important, what's not important. A lot of people just don't have that background, so they're kind of prone to just emotionally reacting to whatever comments are thrown towards them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like the old saying, like a pat on the back is going to be remembered a lot less than a stab in the back, right? If you feel a wound, you're going to feel that much longer. But another thing is just that if you make video essays like yourself and you release something that you spent like an entire month working on, and then someone's upset about specific formal qualities, suddenly it makes you feel like they're degrading the whole video just to the faults that they think you have, which is problematic because obviously there's so much more to the video than that, especially with something like a video essay, right?
Yeah, I think even a more narrow look at that, the worst comments out there are ones that focus on like something you say, something that takes up 3 seconds of the essay.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I can't believe he liked this game.
Right. Yeah.
He said Zelda 2 was actually good. Oh my God, this video essay is invalidated.
Right.
And yeah, that sort of comment can be tough too, because it's like, man, I spent a month making this. I did a ton of research. There's a train going by the way, so we'll have a little atmospheric.
That's okay.
Background
I like
noise.
special guests. We had a cat on
Yeah.
last time, so
Nice. But yeah, it's that feeling of like, I put everything I had into this.
Right.
And you're responding to the most mundane aspect about this video.
Yeah.
That isn't the focus. It has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
But that's your takeaway.
It just
It's like,
some
dang.
random opinion they happen to disagree with. But there's no stakes for commenters, and just
No, of course
like
not.
any messages on the internet in general. You could just post something and you don't have any worries about repercussion, or even it's even hard to just fully like understand that like you're having discourse with someone because you don't see their face and they don't see yours. So naturally you're just thinking like you're the thought doesn't even cross your mind of actually hurting people for the most part. You have to really train yourself to actually think about the other person on the other side, because we're used to just seeing a bunch of messages and whatnot. But yeah, comment ideology and the problems with text-based communication over the internet and online personalities, that could cover its whole podcast, right? And I don't mean to stay on it. Hey there. You just watched a clip from my creative podcast. If you'd like to check out the full episode as well as other episodes as soon as they come out, you can support me over on Patreon for the $3 tier, or you can just subscribe here and wait for clips and podcast episodes to come out eventually.